All right, so it is April 22nd-ish, 2021, and our secondary water got turned on about 4 or 5 days ago. So it's time to start working on the system again this year, see how we did with blowing it out last year. I'm gonna assume I was pretty OCD on how I did it, so I'm gonna assume it's still working pretty good. So today I'm gonna go turn on the secondary, and I'm going to show you how I designed it last year, see how it pays off, so we don't have to run the water through it right away. So the secondary, when it gets turned on, there's like all kinds of stuff in the pipes and whatever in the canals, and I'm not really sure how it quite gets to me entirely, but I know when you first turn it on, it's disgusting. You don't want to run that through your filter or your pump if you don't have to. So the filter's not going to catch everything. So that's why I put a ball valve on it. So we're going to go turn it on. I'll show you what I did, and then we'll see how disgusting the water looks when it comes out. And I don't know if I'm going to get to testing it today, but I'll be testing it over the next day or two. So let's take a look and see how my hard work paid off. All right, so I'm outside. This is my secondary turn-on valve. I just cleared out the box. Had a bunch of spider webs and stuff in there that people took up residence over the winter. So now we're going to walk over here. That's not on yet, and you'll see my setup from last year. So the secondary will come along this little pathway. It's underground over here. It'll hit this spigot, and it'll also, it kind of diverges. It goes up into the pipe, into the booster pump. That ball valve is closed right now, so no water can go into the pump. And the reason for that is the water should be kind of filthy. It's the first time it's being turned on. Some of it's probably just been sitting in the pipe. I don't know. But when you first turn it on, typically every year, it's kind of gross. So that's why I kind of designed it this way. It's not entirely, but it is one of the considerations. So I can keep all that dirt and debris that's in the water from going through here. And ideally, I can flush it out through either, there's a spigot at the bottom of that filter right there. I think it's closed, but we'll find out when I turn the secondary on. And then once it's on, I'll open up that spigot here, and we'll take a look at what comes out through the hose and see how disgusting it is. Hopefully it's been running for about 3 or 4 days now, so hopefully it's kind of clean. But it's always worth it to just take a minute and flush it out of your system before you put all kinds of dirt and whoever knows what, salamander parts, whatever, into your system. So let's do that now. Okay, so right now I got the water turned on, and the filter looks pretty clean. It's definitely water going in there. The spigot down below was closed, so I opened it just to make sure there was some water in there. So it doesn't look like it's too bad. So letting it run a few days seems to be a good strategy. So I'm going to turn the tap on right now. We'll take a look and see what the water looks like coming out of there. And let's see. Hopefully it's not too disgusting, and I can just start testing my system. A little bit of air in the lines. Should be some water flowing out of there in a second. Oh yeah, that's disgusting. Well, first little bit was kind of dark. This doesn't look too bad. Get that air out of the line, and we'll see if we get anything disgusting or not. But so far, it looks pretty good. Get all that air freed out of there and start flowing any second. Yeah, it looks pretty clean. So not too bad. I'm gonna let it run for a few minutes just to make sure I don't have any debris in there, but it does look pretty good. So now we're gonna go and then I'm gonna go set my timers and start testing my stations, make sure everything works. Pretty good though, success. All right, so I just opened that valve to let everything go through the pump, and now you can kind of see there's a little whirlpool going on in there as all my main lines fill. And I got to go to each box now. I have all these ball valves where all the valves are, and I got to open them up. I just did this one, so I'm going to go do that real quick. And so right now my whole system is getting pumped up with water. Was pretty empty, and then we'll see what happens when I test each zone again. Pretty fun stuff for me though. After designing it and doing all that work last year, this is the easy part. All right now I'm at the top of my system, and my spigots, come on man, that's hard to turn, is working. I just tested a second ago. It's still got a little air in there, but this guy's shooting like it should be. And then let's see, I've got this spigot over here working. So the system's pressurizing. I got all the ball valves open, so all the zones are good, it looks like. So then the next thing to do is start testing them, which I will probably not do tonight. Tonight I want to put my let's see how this goes first. I want to put my wheelbarrow or my trailer together. So this guy's working, which is nice. So right now everything's working as it should be, and then tomorrow I'll probably test all the zones, and I'm going to give myself a big pat on the back because everything works the way it should. And you can see I've got my trenches for my drip system started. I didn't do those last year, so we're going to be getting those done in the near future once the chicken coop's done. And yeah, progress. Ideally, we'll start growing some grass at some point in time. In any case, oh wow, I got a sprinkler head going off because there's so much pressure in the system right now. All right, let me go see how to figure that out. You can see it from up here. There's like a little thing. There's one right up in the front there that's actually rotating. I don't know why it's doing that. It's probably everything's draining to that. It might be, they might be open manually, the valves. I might have left them open from last year when I drained them, so I'll have to double check that. Still kind of cool. Yeah, kind of funny. I came up here and I got water going there. I got one going right there. Really low pressure. I got this guy. So that's, I think that's my second zone. I don't remember off the top of my head. But what I did was last year I manually turned them on when I was blowing my system out at the beginning of winter, and I left this guy open by accident, which isn't really a big deal. And I just close it right now and we'll take a look, and you can see no more zones. So it's not rocket science, but it's cool to know all this stuff now after the mess we inherited. Anyway, be testing these tomorrow. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to go around all my zones. I've got a little broom and a little, I don't know, whatever that thing's called, and dowel, I guess, something like that. I forget what it's called. And I'm just kind of clearing away the debris. So when I test my zones, I'm not really introducing any dirt and debris. I mean, they haven't really been looked at since winter. I'm going to go around zone by zone and test. So right now I'm just going to go to all the heads, make sure they all look pretty good and don't have anything that's going to get in them. Like I got this guy here, doesn't look too bad. Just see what kind of shape they're in after winter. I definitely have some that are kind of buried by dirt in the backyard, so I'll be doing that for a little bit, and then we'll start testing zones. Boom. All right, so I'm testing my first zone for the first time this year. I got the booster pump is humming, and you can see I got one down there. This guy's shooting, that guy's shooting, that guy's shooting. So everything's working just like it was last year. So all my work last year paid off. I got one more head over here that's shooting pretty good, and now what I'm going to do is actually adjust the distances. I never did that last year, and they're shooting way out into the street. I want to do that this year. We're having a little drought this year. Didn't get quite as much snow, so I want to get those adjusted. So I'm going to change some of the nozzles and try to reduce the distance some of them are shooting, and then we'll move on to the rest. But it's working the way it's supposed to, so all my hard work paid off last year. I'm pretty happy. All right, so I'm out here on a Saturday, and I am about to make all the connections and finally get to this back area of my yard over here where I never finished last year. That was the intention, just because I didn't feel like trenching through trees, and I'll show you why. It wasn't that bad, but it was still more work, and I had enough last year. So this year we're going to make sure this area gets plenty of water. So let's take a look at what we got to do. All right, so I got this big area here. I'm getting ready to throw some these guys on it. I'm going to try this first. So I'm just going to have a riser coming up. It's going to sit above the ground, kind of similar to what you see right there, the old one. Those aren't connected to anything anymore. And we're going to put them up on that side and on that side. And we're going to see if that gives us enough coverage with an 18-foot head. And if not, I may have to get some of the... there's another type that kind of goes back and forth and sprays like this, sort of like a mechanical. I may have to do those, but I'm trying to avoid that. So, and the reason I didn't want to trench this last year, it turned out to be not too bad, but my hands were done last year. But I get some big trunks, some big roots like that. So there's one there, and I went under them. And then I just had to trench the rest of this, which took me, I don't know, probably took about 2.5 hours. It took me about 45 minutes additionally to dig out underneath those. But these are not particularly large trees, and I didn't want to kill a major root or anything that might take the tree. Maybe not necessarily take it down, but just to make it less stable. So I just went under them. So anyway, I'm going to connect everything, and then I'll show you some of that when it's done. Almost done with this system now. All right, so last night I was able to get this all finished. I covered my trench, which ran up there. I got my 2 heads in. You can see them, they're getting full coverage through this whole entire area. The only area it doesn't get is this area, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my head that I have here, and I'm just going to, right now it was at a 90 to get this direction here, but I'm going to 180 it so it gets all that area, and that'll get that water, so everything will be watered. And that's the end of zone 10. I've got a little bit more to do, and I'll show you some of that. But this is working as designed. It's very beautiful for me. Boom, done.